So there are a lot of theorized ways to get to Atlantis. The allegory of Atlantis was originally by Plato. It was an ancient Grecian allegory. And there were many natural disasters at the time that people think might have contributed to the story. The Thera eruption was a big volcanic eruption that happened way back in ancient Grecian times, and it created a huge tsunami that, washed over entire islands. And that tsunami basically wrecked all civilization on those islands. Those would be islands like Crete, or Cyprus, or Santorini, any island in the Mediterranean Sea. And in fact, the Minoan civilization, which lived on Crete at the time, was wiped out by that tsunami. So some historical scholars say that that might have been the inspiration for Atlantis, meaning that if you wanted to get to Atlantis, you'd first have to go to Crete. That being said, that's not how Atlantis is depicted in pictorial representation. Atlantis is usually shown to be some sort of island or even a continent somewhere out in the Atlantic Ocean. It's usually shown around the equator, and it's usually shown midway between the eastern and western world, between North and South America and Europe and Africa. That would put it roughly around where the Canary Islands are, and since that's a location that's at least relatively proximal to the Mediterranean Sea, people have said that that is a likely location that could have inspired Atlantis. Finally, many people have, of course, looked underwater, and there is a volcanic region called the Azores Hotspot, and it has a bunch of volcanic activity that maps out in a rough pattern of what could be a continent. Basically, it's an area that is very similar to what we see geologically underneath our large land masses, but it's completely underwater. And there are a lot of underwater volcanoes around there that are still erupting to this day and basically creating new land that, given enough time, I guess, could become a landmass over water. But at this point, it's still just underwater activity. So yeah, those are 3 possible ways that you could get to Atlantis. However, there's one other way that you can get to Atlantis, and that's go to the Bahamas. There's a resort there, it's pretty cool, and apparently it has record-breaking water slide. I'm too poor to have gone myself, but I love water slides, I love water parks, and, someone should be able to experience it. And you won't have to get a whole bunch of scuba gear. So yeah, go to the Atlantis Paradise Hotel in the Bahamas. That's probably the easiest way to go about it.